John Stossel.
Since people in Paris couldn't defend themselves, terrorists were able to kill, reload, and kill again. Had some concertgoers been armed, what might have happened? Jack McCauley, who's Maryland's former director of firearms licensing, says probably fewer people would have been killed because concertgoers might have killed the terrorists. More guns would have meant less killing. But Leah Barrett says that's just not true. More guns do not make people safer. Leah is with New Yorkers Against Gun Violence. So why not? I would think.
Well, if you look at our country, John, you know, we are a country of 310 million people. We have almost as many guns. And if guns made you safer, we'd be one of the safest countries in the world, and we're not. The problem is we have too many guns and they're not regulated properly. They fall into the wrong hands. Who are the wrong hands? Terrorists, domestic abusers, violent felons, seriously mentally ill, and children.
I'm not sure what regulated properly would mean, but Jack, let me let you respond first.
We're talking about more gun laws, more so-called common sense gun laws. I actually hate that term.
Why? What's wrong with common sense gun laws?
Well, it sounds really good, doesn't it? It sounds like it's common sense. We should all do that. Well, in reality, some of these laws that we are passing to regulate firearms are actually counterproductive. I was promoted to the rank of captain, and I was put into charge of being the commander of the gun licensing division. It was driven down our throat, get guns off the street. We want gun numbers. It didn't matter where we got those guns from. It didn't matter whether it was a non-violent offender. It didn't matter whether it was a violent offender or someone who's causing harm. We need better enforcement efforts, and in Baltimore City right now, 85% of gun offenders are repeat offenders. Why aren't they put in jail?
What about Paris? Would Paris have been different if people had been armed?
Yeah, more people probably would have died. If you think about the Aurora Theater shooting, that happened, it was a midnight showing of Batman in July, and James Holmes came in and surprised everyone. If people in that theater were packing heat, it was dark, it was confusing, and everyone started shooting, more people, of course, would have died.
How do you know?
Well, experts tell us so, and most law enforcement professionals would agree. They don't want everyone to be shooting. In
Paris?
Everyone to be shooting in a dark
well,
theater,
not everyone, but if you're lying there hiding and the guy reloads.
It was a dark concert, and it was very confusing. I think most law enforcement people would tell you that that is a situation
that would be. Let's let this law enforcement person respond.
Maybe not
you. I've talked to many, many law enforcement officials. Most of them want citizens to be armed. They want them to have the ability to respond and carry. It's completely false.
Really? Most? Because I hear police saying, don't arm yourselves.
No, most law enforcement officials that I know of, in fact, the Fraternal Order Police supports the arming of citizens.
What's your answer to her
That's
point about it's dark, they're going to shoot the wrong people, they don't know what they're doing?
Myself as a law enforcement officer, I've showed up where there's chaos, there's confusion, but we're not shooting or we're not encountering someone with a gun who's a law-abiding citizen with a permit holder.
If you think of the here in Manhattan, the shooting at the Empire State Building a while back, and NYPD officers who were trying to apprehend someone, and bystanders were shot by accident, not seriously.
Trained police
so
officers
even trained officers
missed.
And so the part of the problem is a lot of states. There are 6 states now that you don't even have to have a permit to carry a concealed weapon. Permitless carry. But let's do with guns what we did with cars. We regulate cars. You have to have, you know, driver
Jack, what's
training.
wrong with this?
You have to have a license.
You've changed your mind on
You have to have registration. You have to have insurance.
Let Jack talk.
You have to have, you know, good lighting on the highway.
I get it. Let Jack talk.
Baby. I mean, why not do the same thing for guns?
Let Jack talk, please.
Right now, in the Maryland State Police, you have a trooper who is assigned to an ATF task force in Baltimore. His #1 goal is to get guns. He is running the criminal records of those who have hunting licenses to find convictions that are as much as 20 years old, and then takes a SWAT team.
Doesn't all this attention reduce crime and shootings, like
listen,
she says?
But he's going to areas of the state that have no crime, no gun crime. There's only so much time in a day. Why aren't we targeting violent offenders? We have plenty of laws on the books.
We just don't have the power
laws
to
are
enforce
so confusing in the state of Maryland that even the experts debate over the gun laws. I used to have my guys that would have to brief me on what the laws mean and what they stood for.
Leah, you object to these concealed carry rules. 29 peer-reviewed studies, 18 said the shall issue laws reduce crime. 10 found no difference. 1 found an increase.
Which studies are you quoting? I'm not familiar with any of those. Those are not peer-reviewed studies that I'm familiar with. Well, who? Is it John Lott?
I can't list all
John Lott?
29. I'm sure John Lott is in there.
Oh, my dear, then that completely invalidates
He wrote a book
it.
saying more guns, less crime.
Yeah, and that his research, look, John, has been totally discredited.
How? I've heard that lie so often.
It's not a lie.
One example.
Washington Post. He actually impersonated a student, Mary Rosh, using the first 2 letters of his 4 children's name to say what a great professor he is.
He complimented himself on the internet, and that's his study being discredited?
He claims his data was lost on his hard drive. Well, go recreate it. He hasn't been able to.
On one of 100 studies, he lost data. On one of 100 studies that he cites.
Data. He cannot back it up. Neither can Gary Kleck. They cannot back up
I think you have been discredited.
No, not at all, John. Look, I can actually help educate you.
What about this chart, which may be from his book?
Johns
More
Hopkins
guns,
School
less crime.
Public Health. Daniel Webster, John Lott. Let's don't talk about him. The guy he's a pseudo academic.
Look at this
There's
chart.
no serious academic who takes him seriously.
Look at this chart.
I take him very serious. I've read countless studies. And I found John Lott to be extremely reliable.
Do you dispute
that's
this?
laughable.
Do you dispute this chart? Since gun ownership has increased, crime has gone down.
Of course I dispute it.
It's just, I mean, you dispute that gun ownership is up?
Gun ownership is actually down, John. Did you know that fewer
America,
households...
gun ownership is it's way up.
No, it isn't per household. It's down to 32% of American households. In the 1970s, it was over half. What's happening is more American households are buying more guns. They're stockpiling.
Okay, so gun sales are up and crime is down.
Yes, but gun ownership is not per household. And that's what's important. And the gun industry knows this, which is why they're scared and trying to develop new markets, selling military-purposed assault weapons to civilians. They're trying to gin up markets among women, among children, among urban populations, because they know that their white male demographic is going away. That is the
Jack,
problem.
you get the last word.
It's all about money. It's follow the money.
A lot is about money.
Follow the money. It's the
I'm
NRA.
following the deaths. Crime is down.
I like
What
that
about
last word.
suicides?
It's this type of paranoia. This
Gun
type
death
of,
rates are increasing in this country.
A number of studies that are miscalculated, misquoted on her own website, that are completely inaccurate.
Name which ones are
that we
wrong.
are looking at these studies.
Leah, you're being rude. Let the man
I'm
make
sorry,
his
I don't
point.
think I
And we
am.
are panicking about this. Please tell me one gun law that you would implement that's going to prevent this type of crime.
Licensing and registration.
Absolutely not.